So, hello and welcome to our live podcast episode on YouTube. We're on Soul Level Healing YouTube as well as Melanie Stevens. Melanie Stevens Healing, your
Yes,
YouTube
that's
channel?
it.
Yeah.
Melanie Stevens Healing on YouTube. Yeah. If you
Yes.
remember
Sorry. We are live for our podcast. It's live because we invite people to ask questions at the end regarding any topic that we'll be discussing. And today we'll be talking about card readings. So tarot cards, oracle, angel cards, what's the difference, how to read cards, and anything else that we want to share in that topic. Whoever is following our channels might have noticed that we are doing live readings every Thursday and we both use cards. Mel's cards of choice are tarot, my cards of choice are angel. And yeah, so if you're wondering why and maybe what the difference is, then that's one of the things that we'll be talking about today. So my name is Kat Bazilko. I'm a spiritual medium and healer. In the description notes, there are our details, our website, and I've got Melanie Stevens with me. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Stevens. I'm a spiritual teacher. Need to drop my tea then. Spiritual, I'm just going to put that down. Spiritual teacher. I'm a Reiki master and a tarot reader.
Yes, so we are both avid fans of cards, card readings. I mean, I'm guessing it's the same with you, Mel, because I'm very excited, excuse me, about this topic. I could talk about it extensively. And I also have, or even on my YouTube channel, I am sharing my card collections as well for those who are interested to see what I have right now. Yeah, so maybe let's start with just what the difference is between tarot, oracle, angel cards. I'll let you start, Mel.
Sure. So the difference, I've got tarot and oracle. My collection, I've probably got 50-50 to be fair, but I tend to use tarot because that's what I studied and I learned traditional tarot reading. In addition, I also read with intuition. And this is what many tarot readers will do. They will sometimes use the traditional meanings of tarot and sometimes their intuition and very often both. Whereas for me, when I read with oracle, it's either, if I'm reading for myself, sometimes I do literally, if I just want some guidance from my spirit guides, I just choose an oracle deck, and I've got a couple to show you as an example. And I'll choose a card and I'll read the description of the card in the book, because then for me, it feels like I'm getting a reading from somebody else because I don't know what it's going to say in the book. If I was going to read oracle for someone else, I wouldn't refer to the book because the book has been written by somebody who's looked at those cards and said, this is what I get from that card. I might look at the same card and get something slightly different. So I read intuitively from oracle and I read traditionally and intuitively with tarot. And there are some differences as well. I think some people find tarot quite overwhelming because there are always 78 cards in a tarot deck. So it's quite a chunky deck. And that's the key difference with tarot and oracle. Oracle could have 30 cards, could have 40, 50. It depends how many cards the person that's produced the deck has decided to include. Very often it's around 40 or 50. And then structurally, there is a difference there as well. So depending on the type of tarot. If the tarot deck is based on Rider-Waite, which is what's known as like the traditional tarot structure, then it will have the same kinds of characters and archetypes that the Rider-Waite decks had. So it will have a pretty similar structure, even if you get a tarot deck that's themed on cats, or you get a tarot deck that's themed on Egypt or something else, it will have the same kind of structure and the same number of cards. Whereas oracle is all different depending on the person that's designed the deck. Angel cards, haven't a clue. So this is definitely over to you, Kat, for the angel cards.
Yeah, so angel cards, I think if we were very technical, they would fall under the oracle cards section, but I would add it as a subsection because they are mainly focused on angels, angelic energy. A lot of angel cards have cards of archangels, different archangels, and different archangels bring different energies. So I feel they're more specifically to be used when working with angels. I feel when you use angel cards, you intuitively almost summon the angels to help you with the reading rather than necessarily just using your intuition. Although, it's all fluid and you can use any cards for your angel readings as well. But I kind of differentiate the two between the two in that sense that I would ask angels to be present during the reading. I find that angel cards are more, and because of that, the angel cards are more geared towards healing type of readings, inspirational, and also a little bit more of they're being more heart centered. And they, yeah, so they kind of inspire us and they build the internal recognition of your own spirit and what your, let's say, deepest reasons are behind asking a particular question. So it will always pinpoint on your intention, on your current energy that you're in, that even brings this question to the surface. So they will always be very internally focused. Yeah, I mean, you can like I say, you can use the cards in any way you like, but they mostly come with these kind of messages. So yeah, that's how I use them and how I've learned to use them and how I see them to be.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? I keep thinking of extra things, so I keep writing things down, and I did this before we started as well. But with angel cards, now I've got one deck actually that it's healing with the angels, which is a beautiful deck. There's pictures on there. You've got the pictures of the cherubs and everything else, but you've also got some other cards that, for me, don't necessarily connect with the angelic realm. Like I've got a card that says meditation. I've got one that says music. So that for me is more of a general oracle deck with a loose theme of angels. But do you find that a lot of angel decks relate specifically to the archangels and what they individually bring, their own energy?
Not necessarily, actually. I've noticed that a lot of angel cards, they just have depictions of angels. And it's usually the message that I find is slightly different. It's maybe a little bit more uplifting. They're usually more uplifting. They have some sort of a positive reinforcement kind of message. Yeah, so I mean, I suppose we're trying to differentiate something that really is a part of a whole anyway, because I completely understand, like you say, with some angel decks, there are messages that are not maybe typically what you would think angel, but really, in a sense, it is anyway, because we all have sort of angelic qualities within us. So all of the qualities that we have that are anything to do with inspiration, like meditation, that's connection, right? We're talking about divine connection. If it's something about self-care, then you're looking after yourself. That's, to do with love and compassion towards yourself. So all of these topics really are the things that angels can help us with. So yeah, so they don't always have the archangels. I think usually the decks would say archangel cards, and then you have a little bit more information on each archangel. But it's not necessary to have if you want to read angel cards, because it's more of I think it's the intention and the energy that comes through the reading more than anything else.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna. I'm sort of preempting any questions that people might have about, would you need do you need to have learned how to read tarot cards in order to be able to read for yourself, for example? Or do you need to have learned how to read angel cards in order to read for yourself? And my feeling is actually you don't need to have done anything.
Mhm.
You can pick up a deck without having any
Yeah.
instruction or teaching, because you've got the book there. But it depends if you want to read and look in the book and read and look in the book, or if you want to learn it for yourself. And you don't have to learn to be a reader for other people, but you can benefit from quicker readings and a real deep insight by learning to connect your intuition and connect to the images, whether you enjoy the I want a structure, so I want to know the traditional meanings of tarot because I liked the thought of loads of other people know the same system and it's been going for many years. And I
Mm.
kind of like that. And I liked learning about the history of tarot, which originally started as a game like bridge in the 15th century. That's how
Mhm.
long tarot has been going, but it wasn't used for divination until the 20th century, I think, or the 19th century, actually, when people started using it to divine the future. And then the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is the most popular structure, didn't come out until the 1900s. So that's a bit more recent, but there's still history there. And it's that history that I was really fascinated by, which is why I liked to learn the traditional style. But I know many tarot readers who've never learned any of the traditional meanings. They haven't learned the different meanings of the cards. They read purely with intuition and they do it professionally. These are professional tarot
Mm.
readers. They haven't studied, they've developed purely based on intuition. And they might have had some teachings in terms of how to use your intuition, because even that's a skill that you can develop and you can learn, but they've done it purely based on intuition. And the same, I guess, with angel cards. I know you've studied with Kyle Gray and you've done lots of studying around angels and the
Mm.
angelic realms. But would you say to somebody, you can start without needing any of that, and then if you want to
Oh,
get more from your practice, then you can start to bring in the learnings?
oh, of course you can. You can start reading angel cards at any point without any sort of training. You just need a guidebook if you want to see what the message is. Definitely, you don't need any formal training at all. Yeah.
But do you find that when you, because that's probably how we all started, but then we get
Mm.
interested and we're like, oh, I want to learn more. And do you find that having the knowledge you've got from the courses you've
Mhm.
done and working with the angels has enhanced your reading practice?
Yes, I do because, as I mentioned at the start when I was talking about angel cards, I feel when you choose angel cards, e- eventually it means that you are working with angels. That's how I always felt it, and how I went about the whole thing. I mean, that's what basically sparked me to read angel cards. And so, therefore, in order to be even better angel card reader, I decided to take up courses so I can learn more about angels and how to connect with them and how to, receive messages from them, with the angel cards being the tool, right? Because cards are always the tool that we use. Um, and yeah, so in that sense, the training did help me to deepen my connection with angels so that I am more trusting with the messages that I receive and what I'm receiving from the cards themselves. So I would incorporate. Um, so, for instance, I will do a quick plug-in here now because I will be starting a angel card reading workshop. Please look at my website for details. I'm planning on starting that towards mid or end of June this year. It will be a three-part workshop spread over 3 different days. Um, and it's called Angel Card Readings and not maybe, just card reading workshop, because I want to put the attention and focus on actually starting to connect with angels first of all, and kind of learn how to do that, how to recognize if you receive messages from them, how to recognize when you feel angels around, how they speak to you specifically, because we're all different. And then we will use cards, but they will be, the tool that we'll be using for the readings, whether you're reading for yourself, you want to read for others. So this course would teach you both. It really doesn't matter what you want to do with it. It's just going to give you a little bit of an idea of how to approach this sort of reading. So, and then we practice. So I do put the importance of, or the focus on, just connecting with angels. So eventually, so really, essentially, the type of deck that you choose doesn't really matter, even if you come to this workshop. And even when I was taking Kyle Gray's courses, it doesn't really matter what deck you're using. You can even use tarot. It's the intention behind how you want to deliver the reading. Because, for instance, now I know that's not the whole truth and only truth about tarot, but a lot of, I think, people who maybe don't read tarot would assume that tarot is to do with predictions, like kind of fortune telling, until you actually start studying tarot and you see how beautiful of a archetypal philosophy is in there. Because I mean, I love tarot still. Okay, just because I chose to do angel cards professionally, I do read tarot for myself at least, or for like friends and family if anyone wants. But it's, I think it can go. So okay, so what's coming to my mind is that it can go either way with the reading. You can read cards, so let's say tarot, in a sense of, let's see where this person is, what their energy is at, where they're going, and it can be quite down to earth, let's say, reading, very like maybe down to earth, maybe very practical. You can do very practical readings with tarot. And then if you choose, for instance, angel cards, you're probably intuitively just moving towards of more of a question that will help you spiritually, that will heal your heart. Depending on the situation, it will be more of a, the only word that's coming to my mind is a healing reading. So it might not tell you, you know, all the things that are happening within a particular situation. It might not pick up the people that are involved. Tarot might pick up, the descriptions and everything. If you learn to read tarot, actually learn all the meanings of the cards, you can start to really dig deep into the details of a situation, what's happening around you and stuff. Whereas with angel cards, it would most likely put attention on you, what you feel in your heart, what is good for you, what is best for your highest good in that moment of time, so you can kind of just trust that whatever you feel is right for you will take care of everything else. And it's almost like all the other practical details are not so important right now. But then, yeah, you can mix and match, however, that's where the intuitive reading style comes in. You can, sometimes I do that. I would pick up angel cards so that I know, for instance, I can feel peace in my heart about a decision. But then I think, okay, well, I would like to see what practical steps I can take. Then I would most likely go for tarot and just have an extra information. So you can conduct any kind of readings with any cards in any way that you feel most drawn to, really.
And it is interesting because I use tarot and oracle differently as well. Just very quickly to address the comments. So we're not doing live readings today, lovely, but we are on Thursdays. So Thursdays we're live at 5. That's 5 o'clock UK time. So if you want to come and join us then, today we're just talking about tarot and oracle and angel cards and how they work and how we use them. And actually, just leading on from what you were just saying, Kat, about, because I use the tarot very practically as well. So 9 times out of 10, when I'm using tarot, I'm asking about my career. And this is what I specialize in: career and business readings with tarot, and also spiritual development and growth. And they're the 2 areas that I like to specialize in because they're the areas that I enjoy reading with the most. And I think this is the thing that you were saying about tarot. People think it's just about fortune telling and divining the future. You can absolutely use tarot to see what's coming in. I mean, I've used it to say, what if I do this course, how will it pan out? If I do this course, how will it pan out? And I've compared the 2. I've made decisions on jobs, taking a job or not taking a job, depending on what the cards have come up with. So I've definitely used it in that format. But equally, sometimes, when you keep hitting a block in your work or in your life, and you're like, why every time do I try and do this? Why is it not working? Am I being told by the universe that this is not right for me? Or is this a test of my determination? And this is something we often get stuck with, because we know how the universe works. You know that sometimes if you keep hitting a brick wall, it's because you're being turned round and pointed in a different direction because you're not meant to do it. Whereas sometimes it is actually you're meant to find a way of making this work. And the challenges are there to help you grow and develop. And that's something that can come out of tarot. It's like, why am I hitting a block? What's the reason here? Do I need to move on? Do I need to walk away? Or do I need to just keep working out how to get this to happen? And that can help and save so much time and energy in doing something that isn't on your path. And I've had this before with, there was a course I wanted to do and I felt so drawn to it. And the cards just kept saying, no, no, no. And I thought, why? I feel really excited by it. My body's telling me yes, but you're saying it's not right. And then I pulled cards that suggested it wasn't on my path. And now, a year or two later, I can see it wasn't right for me. It was an interest and it was useful to learn about it. But if I'd gone down that road by now, I'd have hit a dead end and had to come back and learn something else. So it is super helpful in a very practical way. But if I want, like, I've got this beautiful deck here, Earth Magic. I think you've got this one as well. It's gorgeous. This is an oracle deck. And this to me helps to connect me to the messages that are found in nature. So this is very healing for me, because nature for me is very healing. So if I feel like I'm struggling with something and I just need some guidance, I need uplifting, I ask my spirit guides to communicate with me through a deck like this. To show me what I need to heal from and let go of. So definitely same as you, I tend to use, oracle or maybe angel cards as that reassurance, that guidance, that love, that support and that healing. Whereas tarot, I use it every day for the more practical aspects.
Yeah, one example actually comes to my mind, for instance, when you have two decisions or two options, let's say a course, two of them come up and maybe you pull tarot cards to find out which one will be good for you or which one is better, right? And let's say both tarot cards actually give you two positive answers, so you think, well, okay, what does that mean really? So which one am I supposed to go for? And then I might reach for an oracle card or an angel to see what lies underneath, as in what do I need to know about choosing a course, because sometimes our choices are not really that important. It's the whole path, right? Trajectory and purpose that we're on that actually matters. So it's almost like it doesn't matter which one you take. What do you want to do in the grand scheme of things, and or what do you feel drawn to doing? And for instance, an example comes to my mind with that. If we had those tarot cards and they say they're both good, and then I would pull a card from, for instance, Wisdom of the Oracle, which I did a few times, and there was a card that came up for me quite often, either conflict, it's called conflict, or fork in the road. So it just exemplifies what I'm feeling inside. It just tells me that I am, I can't decide, and I'm battling with myself inside, in my head. I've got a conflict. So then when you're starting to walk the spiritual path, which means you're very much focused internally, you're very self-aware, and you're looking at how you're making decisions. If I had that kind of spread, I would think, okay, I'm probably just not going to choose any of them right now because I'm clearly not clear in my head. So I just need to rest, sleep on it, maybe leave it for a little while. It might turn out that I won't choose any of the courses because it really doesn't matter in the long term, kind of thing. So that's, I suppose, is a good example of how an oracle could guide you on the path, and how tarot might do it a little bit differently. But having said that, I feel like it actually depends on what questions you ask and how you ask the questions, because you can ask the same question of a tarot card and it might give you a card that also suggests that you're being like is it Seven of Swords or Seven of Cups? I can't remember. Seven of Swords.
Cups is the options when you've got too many options and you can't
Yeah.
decide. Five of Wands when there's a conflict of, well, I want to do that, but I also want to do that. Maybe you do them both and you just say, okay, which one shall I do first? I mean, I've had this many times when I've asked a multiple choice question and it's like, well, they all look good, but I've only got one budget and I can't do them all. And then I like to sort of look at, well, how do they look good? Are they showing me you'll enjoy this course intellectually because it will give you ideas? Do I need any more ideas, or have I got enough? This course looks like it will bring me joy and pleasure and enjoyment. Do I want more pleasure and enjoyment out of this course? This course looks like it will be good for me financially. What's motivating me for wanting to do this course? Do I want to make money out of it? In which case that might be the best option. So sometimes there's a more of a, it's not a straightforward, like, is it going to be a good course? Well, yeah, they all are. It's what's your personal motivator for doing this course, and which of these options will fulfill and satisfy that need. And so sometimes you need to take a deep dive, and sometimes I'm the same. Actually, I think I'm going to leave the cards where they are, and I'm going to walk away. And I'm going to come back the next day, and I'm going to look at them. Which line of cards is jumping out at me? What am I motivated by? Do I want to do this for fun? In which case I'm going to choose the one with all the cups cards that looks like I'm just going to really enjoy it. So it's yeah, I've had that many times.
Yeah.
Multiple choice has made me more confused than I started out being.
Yeah, and so I feel like I found, for instance, I don't do readings for myself very often unless I feel it's time for me to maybe have a little review of where I am. And I like to use angel cards for that, and the spreads that I use, which give me just an overview of what is happening around me right now, and internally, spiritually, within my, heart and soul. How am I feeling in my world? What am I doing? Focusing on what my challenge might be. Yeah, and it gives a little bit of a bigger picture, so you can always sit back and just look at things from a different perspective. So I suppose it depends on really what kind of guidance you need at the time, and you might not know what guidance you need also, but that's why I suppose if you're not sure, go and see someone. I definitely often see someone to read for me because you know, you need to be in the right frame of mind. But before we go into a topic of being in the right frame of mind and how to set up for a reading, I just wanted to maybe conclude on this subject that it doesn't really matter what kind of deck you use. Just use the one that calls to you. I think that's like the best option to always go for. If you love a deck, you saw one calling to you, you like the look of it, the art, just go for it because it honestly doesn't matter. There are so many oracle decks that are just built on, they are inspired and built and focused upon the philosophy of the creator. That's one of the reasons why I love oracle decks, because there are so, as many people as there are, or as many oracle creators there are, that many decks, there are, because we're all different. Everyone could create an oracle deck, and it would just, it shares their perspective of life, or their teachings, or their studies, their research, depending, they might be researching a topic like nature, for instance, and then they're sharing that within the card deck. So it is so varied and individual that there is no rule. I like the rule of what do I feel like buying. What's
And what calls to you? I mean, I just bought a couple. I've got loads, but I just bought a couple. So I've got the Earth. I never know which way to put it. I've got the Earth Magic one, which is a nature one. So if you love nature and landscapes, you might be drawn to something like that. And then I've got this one, the Spirit Animal Oracle. So I know a couple of ladies who are, one in particular I've just been speaking to this morning. She's an animal communicator, and she created her own oracle deck because she also works as a psychic medium. And she created an oracle deck about animals because that's her passion, that's her love. So when somebody creates a deck, an oracle deck, they create it based around their passion, and that passion for that topic is infused in the artwork, it's infused in the messages. So it's so lovely to pick up a deck of something you also resonate with. If you love animals and you've picked a deck, it's going to have been created by an animal lover. So you're tapping into their energy of the joy that they've had and they've felt creating that deck. But the same with tarot. I mean, I've got a few different decks here, but the tarot are also themes nowadays. People are getting just as creative with tarot as they were with oracle. So much as they've got the same structure of those 78 cards with the same kind of traditional meanings, they put different colors in the cards. They might do a tarot deck with animals in rather than people. So every time you see a person, an archetype in traditional Rider-Waite tarot, they've replaced it with an animal. that's sort of acting out that part, if you like. So people put their own stamp on it and make it unique, and it's a very creative process. And I think we feel that when we buy the decks, which is why we get so excited, because we're tapping into their
Mm.
passion and their enthusiasm. And it's definitely something I want to do one day. I would love to create
Yeah.
a deck.
Just to show an example, I only brought a few because I have like 50 now. 50 decks, I think last time I counted. Um, but for instance, if someone, even if you're trying to learn about crystals, you can get a crystal deck. Or if
Mm-hmm.
you just like cards and you like crystals, and then you've got crystal cards, it's like perfect solution. You can learn about crystals. You can just you might just pick a card asking what crystal would help me with this and this, and then you get a crystal. Then you can go and actually buy the crystal. So there are also oracle decks of crystals. I've got this that I use recently quite often on our Thursday lives. Low divine direction cards that just are very small, and they have a very quick message. There are many of those. If you want like a little very short guidance that actually has a sentence of some sort, if you like writing on your cards, because that again, there are many that just have a lot of writing, some have none. So it's just due to preference. Tarot, I like what I do like about tarot, I think, is the size of the cards, because oracle cards are usually bigger, they're larger, and tarot standard size is actually very handy, because uh, as we know, there are 78 cards always in tarot, so it's just a little bit easier to handle. But you can, like you said, you can choose tarot cards that call to you as well. If you're a cat lover, I know that there are cat tarot decks, for instance. It's like there's everything for everyone. So really, just go and have fun and choose one. I like all kinds of mini versions because of my small hands. This is also tarot, so that's like the easiest to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some of the decks I bought just because I love the decks, but they are hard to shuffle with. I mean, to give you an
Mm.
example, look at the difference in size between these two. So this is traditional sort of tarot size. This is the Rider Waite, and it doesn't have much writing on it. It just says the name of the card at the bottom, and this one's the Queen of Pentacles. Sometimes you won't even get that, but you'll get like a crown and a P or something, so you'll know it's Queen of Pentacles. And this is also a traditional Rider Waite based tarot deck, which is like much, much bigger, wider, and quite thick as well. So this is a bit harder to shuffle with. But then you've got a lot more text at the bottom. Now, I've always avoided cards with lots of words on because I want to dive into the imagery and the color and the symbols and the expressions on the faces. But I just really liked this. And although there's 4 small sentences on the card, I don't read them left to right like I'm reading a book. I just look at it, and if a word jumps out, I use that word. So I'm still reading the message intuitively. So some of the cards that are a bit more wordy, you don't necessarily have to pick it up and read it like it's a book. You can still read intuitively, but just let 1 or 2 words jump out at you. And you
Yes.
might find some of the words, you don't even read them at the time. And when you look back at the card, you think, oh, I didn't even know it said that, because that bit seemed like it wasn't there because your intuition was drawing you to a different piece of the card.
Yes, that's it, and that kind of leads to a little bit of an explanation that you can learn to read cards based on what the guidebook says, or traditionally tarot, but you can also read it intuitively. So that would also just depend on your preference. I found that when I started reading cards, I actually started reading them when I started developing my mediumship as well, and I found that it was the easiest way and the most accurate turned out to be. Well, maybe I shouldn't say the most accurate because I didn't give it a lot of time to actually study maybe tarot. So, but I started reading it intuitively, and I had very good results. And then after a while, I decided, because I wanted to dive deeper, learn more about it. I've learned about tarot more traditionally, what the actual meanings are, and I found that many times, whatever I have picked up on intuitively was actually what the card meant itself anyway. So because
Yeah.
the pictures are there to inspire you with that kind of message.
Mhm.
So you can't go wrong. It's just, it really depends on your preference, on your style, and how you want to approach the reading. So it's the same with oracle cards, although usually they're used by people to be read intuitively. You still have guidebooks, and especially maybe if you're following a specific author, they have a certain style, philosophy, then you might probably follow the way they teach as well, like I do, for instance, with Kyle Gray. The way he teaches, resonates with me very well, so I really like his spreads. Therefore, I did make an effort to really read through the guidebooks of the angel cards that I have, so that I also have the foundation of what the intention behind the card is. But at the same time, I always trust with any extra intuitive messages that I personally pick up on as well.
Yeah, and that's really what I do as well. So I just enjoy learning. I love it. I'm a massive study geek, and so anything that there is to learn, I just want to learn. And I think we're quite similar in that regard. That's why we always talk about, shall I do this course or this course or this course?
Yeah.
Constantly asking
Whilst still
myself.
doing other courses and haven't even finished the other ones.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling is very
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So I think that there's a lot to be had from learning traditionally, but it's nice to do the combination. So I start with a card with a traditional meaning when I use the tarot, because I've studied it so much that I know all of that. But then I dive deeper into it. So it's like, okay, that's a traditional meaning. What's jumping out at me? What else am I getting? So it's almost like a starting point, and then the intuition flows. And then I move to the next card and I read traditionally, and then the intuition flows. And then I look at how the cards communicate with each other depending on where I've put them. And I sometimes use spreads. More often than not, I just place the cards in front of me where I feel guided to put them, and then the cards interact with each other. So you might have a person in a card looking that way, and the card that you place next to them, how does that play with that card? How does that energy interact with that card? So that's again where intuition comes in. Even with spreads,
Yeah,
you don't have to follow a strict guideline. You might start that way when you're learning, and then develop your own spreads.
exactly. Yes, because it's a very creative process. That's where we use our imagination, not imagination in a sense fiction, oh, it's not real. No, we just use the imaginative side of us,
Yeah.
which is very much the intuitive side of us, where the one that our spirit speaks through, really. So yeah, it's a very nice. You can let yourself be very creative when reading that way. So I thought maybe we could mention any cleansing rituals, so called. Do you have, when you receive a new deck, do you have a specific practice or ritual that you use or that you do before you use the deck?
I do, yeah. I think I've got many rituals that I use, and actually, I've just put a video out on my YouTube and my Facebook, just showing people how to cleanse a tarot deck. Because it's all right, people saying cleanse with smoke, but it's like, what does that mean? I don't want to set fire to the house. What do you mean? How do I do that? So, and I think a demo is quite helpful with things like that. So I put this little video clip out on my channel, and it's just, I light a little bit of sage or Palo Santo, which is a scented wood. Sage is better for cleansing tarot decks, I find, because it doesn't go out. Whereas Palo Santo, I find it smells less strong. Sage can get down your lungs a little bit, but it keeps going out, so I have to keep relighting it. Whereas sage, I only have to light it once. I put the sage into a fireproof dish. So I've got like an abalone shell, which you often buy bundles of sage. It comes with the shell. And then I literally pass every single card through the smoke, turning it over so it's getting both sides, setting an intention that I cleanse this card of all energy, and then I do the next card. It is a bit time consuming with tarot, because obviously there's 78 cards, and I also cleanse the box they come in and the instruction booklet. Even if I'm not going to use it, I cleanse the whole lot, because that's been handled by a manufacturer. It's been brought by the person bringing the post. People have touched that deck, and it's absorbed all of their energy. So as soon as I get a brand new deck, even if it's brand new, the first thing I do before I start reading with it is cleanse it thoroughly using smoke, opening a window to make sure there's an exit route for the smoke so it doesn't stay in your space with any negative energy. It's picked up, it needs to leave. But then in between readings, I don't do that every time I read because it would take too long. In between readings, I have a very, very quick, easy ritual that people, if they watch me do my tarot readings, might see me do, although it might be off camera, is I literally just knock on the deck and do that against my wrist as well, just setting an intention that I'm just removing any energy from the deck. And then I spread the cards out and just imagine, it's more of a visualization, just imagine any energy that's come into the deck from the last person I've read for being removed. So it's a quick visualization. The knock for me is just like pushing the energy out, and that's it. It takes 20 seconds, and I do that in between every reading. So if we do live readings on a Thursday, every time somebody's had a reading, I cleanse the deck like that, and then it's ready for the next person. That's my little weird way of doing it anyway.
It's not weird, it's just normal. Yeah. I think that I have picked up different ways of cleansing my deck that I picked it up from guidebooks, I'm pretty sure, and I think at some point it just kind of created my own, because I couldn't tell you right now, which card deck I picked up which parts. So if you do buy a deck, by the way, there will be information on cleansing your deck, preparing for a reading. I do apologize if there's a noise that you're picking up, but there's some grass cutting happening just outside my window.
No, I can do it fine.
Okay, good. So what I have kind of ended up with is whenever I receive a new deck, I would hold it in my hands like this, close to my heart center, and then my right hand goes over, and I just set an intention and a prayer for spirit and angels to cleanse this deck of anything that it might have picked up on the way here, when it was manufactured, when it was created, the energy of the creator, whoever handled it, and whenever it was, kind of transported, if it picked up on any of these energies, for that to be cleared with pure white light. And I just sit there for a second whilst I imagine that light coming through my hand, sort of like with Reiki. I think I might have started that sometime when I was learning Reiki. I can't remember. I just imagined that light going through, and it's really, it's really cool, because every time I do that, I can feel the heat and the pulse coming through my hands, and it's just, that's the thing, it's just my intention that I put on this deck to be cleared, and I ask my helpers, my angels, to do that with me. I clear that, then I just I would shuffle it. I might feel like, if I feel like, then shuffling it straight away, moving it about, and then I go and look at each card. So I like to familiarize myself and kind of receive any sort of energy, intuition hits that already, before I even look at any description. I like to look at the cards and just kind of feel into them, what I'm feeling from them. So I do flip through every single one, which for a card geek is a very fun activity to be just looking at the cards. And then that's it. And then I'm done. It's already cleared, done. I've put my energy onto it when I was shuffling it, when I was looking at each card. I was associating, whatever I feel I see in the card. So it already now has my intention behind it. Oh, and I always say also, once I've cleansed it of everything, I always do set an intention / prayer for this deck to serve the highest good of everyone that it's being read for. And sometimes I notice it always comes to me intuitively. I don't have set words that I use for every single deck, but I often say that I would like this deck to be used as per intention of the creator. So let's say if it's an animal deck and it has Native American energy, and let's call it spin behind it, based on their beliefs and their traditions, then I wish to be able to read it in that way, so that it gives me the information that would be shared within the guidebook, that are based on that knowledge, that belief, So I do a little intention, and then it always serves the highest good of anyone that it's being read for. If it's an angel deck, I always say that I wish for the angels to always be present when reading the cards, and for their inspiration and love to always come through whenever the reading happens. So, but it depends on how I feel, what I feel I'm being drawn to say, and what the deck almost wants me to say, because like we talked about it, just all of the decks are created based on what the author's experiences, knowledge, and passion. And then between readings, I also knock. That I did pick up from somewhere as
I
well.
think
I like to
I
knock
think we
three
learned that
times.
actually. Yeah, I think that might have been Sal.
Yeah, I think
We've
so.
done
I
the
quite
same
liked it
course.
because it's very quick and easy.
Yeah,
And I noticed that I started doing recently. I knock three times, but I do it also three times. It's something with the power of three, I suppose. And I just, my intention and visualization is that I knock away the energy of whoever I was reading for. I've also noticed that if I had a long reading, I used to do readings on like psychic fairs for a little while, and during psychic fairs, we would have people coming in, sometimes one after another, and you sit there for quite a few hours. So
mm,
the readings can be pretty much in depth, and also the fact that the person's right there with you, so it's like you can read for anyone anywhere, even online, but I feel like when they are there in physical presence, their presence is felt a lot more. So just started feeling the need to imagine that there's literally a waterfall cleaning all of my space, because it just felt so almost dense that
mm,
just knocking wasn't really doing it for me, because the cards might be fine, but I'm still in there. Whatever we talked about, whatever, they looked at me a certain way, what they said, it all carries energy with it. So I felt like I need to really cleanse myself. And I would imagine this huge waterfall just cleaning everything, me, the cards, all the cards that are on the table, just the whole space. And it would calm me down. And I felt a lot more clear
yeah.
and neutral and ready for anyone else to come. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the power of, I mean, for me, intention is everything, because if you're doing anything
Mm.
without intention, you might as well not do it. So it's the intention of cleansing, and the visual of the water is an aid to that intention, because the visual just helps us to
Yeah.
feel
Right.
into the energy of the cleanse. And I love using water or air, the
Mm.
elements, when I do something called ground cleanse protect to cleanse my energy. And I've put a video of this on my YouTube as well, because it's just brilliant. And I was taught it by another spiritual teacher, so I'll credit her with it, Isabel Maxwell. And she teaches it and talks about it a lot, about cleansing your energy, particularly if you're doing psychic readings, because we're really picking up other
Mhm.
people's energy. That's the whole point. So we need to then dispel that energy before the next person comes in, or we've still got that last person's energy on us when we're reading for the new person, and that's when it can get muddled. So you've got to have a quick, especially on a psychic fair, you haven't got time to sit spending half an hour in deep in meditation. You just need a quick cleansing ritual of something, visualizing water or air blowing through you and removing anything from your
Mhm.
energy that way, ready for the next person to come in. So yeah, that's and there are so many rituals when you're working spiritually
Mhm.
that you do because they're second nature, but we've had to learn these and develop them
Mhm.
and practice them. And now it's like breathing. I just GCP,
Yeah.
ground cleanse, constantly, several times a
And
day, just to rid myself of any energy. And then the protection bit. Do you do the same, Kat? Do you sort of put yourself in a bubble?
protection, yes. Yes. I sometimes forget about it though. I gotta be honest. The protection bit, I cleanse, but I do forget about the protection bit. And I was just thinking, I think over time you will find your own way of what works best for you. Like you said, you like the water because it has the cleansing association with it. I have heard other people using fire. That's quite a good one as well, because I feel it's really burning through everything that is not needed. Whatever makes you feel calm. And
Mm.
if you're wondering how do you know if someone's energy is still within your field, I feel like it. you can pick up on it if you're very easily, if you're one just still thinking about what just happened, what you told them, what they were saying, you've got them on their mind. That's a very easy indication that they're still there. If you're unable to just stop thinking about the reading that you just had, then most likely the energy is still in there. So that's a good indication that I've noticed helps me. If I cleanse and clear, I also feel a little bit lighter and I no longer have them in my mind. I've done it, the reading was done, that's it. Even if the things that you're thinking about are just you wondering, oh, have I done it right? Have I done it wrong? You're still sitting in that. Just leave it. It was whatever was meant to come through, definitely came through. You can reflect and do maybe ponder on something later on when you come back. But in that moment, the thought itself is the energy that can keep on bringing that other person's energy to us. So I there was one more point that I had in my notes. I think we kind of touched on it already, but maybe we could say a little bit more. Is how to prepare for a reading. So how does it work that it works? Like, what is this that you just lay cards and then suddenly it actually tells you the truth of the matter? Depending whichever cards you use and system you use.
Well, for me, I've got my little ritual. I've got some here, this little cleanse bottle that I made, and it's just got the word cleanse written on it.
Mm-hmm.
This is water with some essential oils that have cleansing properties. So I think I put lemon in there, and then I put lavender for protection, and something else, and I can't remember what else I used, but lemon is a really great essential oil for cleansing. And then I used a couple of other ones depending on what else I wanted. Like I say, lavender for me feels very protective, so I put a couple of drops of lavender essential oil and something else um, into water, or you can put it into a carrier oil, and then you can put it into a little spray bottle like this. And what I do is spray this into the air in front of me, right from the top above my head all the way down to my feet, and then I walk into it. And this is a cleansing spray for my aura.
Hmm.
I've also got one for my room that I made myself. Again, I didn't buy them. I just had some essential oils and made them myself. I've got one that I spray my space before I start working. So I just spray that around and I spray my aura. Or you can use smoke just in exactly the same way that you cleanse a tarot deck. You can literally light some sage or some Palo Santo, even an incense, just to get the smoke, and just wave it all around your aura, under your feet, over your head in a great big circle, setting the intention that you're cleansing your energy. Or you can do it with visualization. Again, you can bring in something that cleanses you before you start working. Place yourself in a bubble or something that makes you feel safe and protected, so that other people's energies, if it's not for your highest good, it will bounce off. But when you're reading for people, their energy will come in, but you don't want any outside influences. So especially if you're working mediumistically, you only want the people who you're connecting with, not anyone else. So you still need to do that protection, but then you will be allowing in the energy of the person you're reading for. So with a psychic reading, I then visualize my aura expanding outwards, and particularly forward from the solar plexus, because that's where we connect psychically to somebody else's energies, through our solar plexus chakra. Once I've opened the channel, I've opened my field, I'm ready to connect. That's when I'm ready to start laying the cards down. And at the end, and this is the bit that a lot of people forget, and I did for a long time until I got into the habit of remembering to bring my energy back in, so that I'm not walking around with an open field connecting to everybody and then wondering why I'm exhausted. Bringing my energy back in, putting it back into my solar plexus, cleanse again, and disconnect from the person.
Hmm.
I'm
That's
doing a
actually,
reading.
sorry.
That's okay.
That's actually a good little in, sorry, plug in there to maybe do the difference between the psychic readings and the mediumistic readings. And when I say mediumistic, I don't mean necessarily the standard mediumship session when you read for someone and invite their loved ones on the other side. I've noticed over time, I've decided that I mostly, or my intention is, let's say, that I mostly want to do readings that are mediumistic. And what I mean by that is I've I'm not. necessarily interested or wanting to find out what is happening in that person's life by feeling their energy of their life, like, their aura, and
Yeah.
kind of reading psychically, like you said, through the solar plexus. I have decided that I want the readings that I do I just want them to be messages from spirit, angels, spirit guides, whoever basically wants to come through. I don't even have to know who it is. And I want to more, I suppose, using the right terms, I don't know, channel, receive inspired messages based on people's questions. So yeah, that can kind of give a little bit of a different, maybe, flavor to the reading, maybe a little bit of a direction. Now I think, because I kind of did it, I didn't, sit and ponder on that for a long time. I feel like I just kind of decided intuitively to go with that, because I am super sensitive. I didn't know that until I started all of this training, and remembered how I used to pick up on people's energies in the past without knowing, and it was very exhausting on my nervous system. So I feel like now, although I can do it naturally, let's say in everyday life, I might pick up on different things. But if I have a client and I spend an hour with them, I feel like I just want to be able to be the medium and the messenger of what the spirit wants to tell them, and which is why I use angel cards mostly, or oracle cards. And then it's almost like, regardless of what's happening in their life, it's like they can do with it what they want. But
Yeah.
this is the message from, their loved ones, from spirit, from angels. And I feel like that kind of reading goes a little bit differently, because I don't feel as heavy or tired or depleted of energy at the end, because I'm lifted up by the presence of spirit or angels. Whereas when I was doing the fairs, the psychic fairs, I wasn't really doing that. I was just reading the cards, and it was a very good practice. I think whoever is wanting to learn to read, it's always practice, practice, practice. Practice does make you better. It really does. But So it was a really good practice, but I was so tired. So at least what it did for me is that it helped me build my confidence, because I had many people say, "Oh, that is very accurate. Oh, you're really good." So I was like, it was really stroking my ego, and I thought, okay, this is great. But then afterwards, I would be like, "Oh my god, I need some water. I need a break." Like, it was just so draining. And you probably could train yourself. I think it's something like, I often hear people say, people who create cards and who teach readings, that it's just a matter of practice. It's like working a muscle, and eventually you will, get stronger and stronger. So that might be the case. I don't know, because I haven't done it. Because I just decided, that's it. I'm just gonna do angel cards. I just want angels to come in. Let's just keep it that way.
There is when you're reading psychically, you extend your energy out through the solar plexus and you are looking for information. So it is more, it's not harder at all, but it's more tiring because you're searching for information and you're finding
With
it and you're
your
bringing it
energy, right?
in.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're working mediumistically, you are opening the channel to receive. So
Exactly.
mediumship, it's about being as passive as you can to allow them to speak without you getting in the way. So you have to really
Yeah.
step back and then allow yourself to be a clear channel, whereas psychically you're going and finding it. And I find that I do both, because what I try and do with my readings is open the channel for anything that comes through. And sometimes stuff comes through and I think that's not come from me. That's not something I would say. And I know then I'm getting it from their guides. But I start the reading with the psychic. And that's what most of the reading is, because I like the practical steps to do this and then do this, and this is what's going to happen. I quite enjoy that earthly guidance. But then towards the end of the reading, or as I'm doing the reading, sometimes things come through the channel. But yeah, they are more tiring. I have to be very tight with my time, because I this is why I don't currently offer really long readings, because it is more tiring. But you can combine the two, and I think many people start with psychic readings because it's easier to connect to somebody's energy who are on the same vibrational frequency in terms of on the planet in the 3D, than it is to raise your vibration to connect to spirit who are vibrating at a different frequency. They have to drop their frequency and we have to raise ours, and we meet in the middle. And that takes a lot more practice, I find. That was a lot harder for me to learn that than reading psychically. So psychic readings for me are the great first step. And then you might decide, I want to work mediumistically now, and start bringing that into the reading as well. But what I get a lot of feedback from people when I'm reading for them. They say, it's as if you're in my head. You've said everything that I was thinking, but then I was thinking this, and then my brain got in the way, and then I wasn't sure. And what I'm doing is I'm reading their intuition. I'm reading their unconscious, what's actually really going on beneath the surface, because they've got head noise and emotion getting in the way. I don't have any of that. I'm detached from that. So I'm able to give a reading. And this is another thing, I did write it down, I wanted to mention. If you're emotionally attached to an outcome, don't do a reading about it, because you will see the results, which is why sometimes we don't listen to our own intuition, because there's some fear coming up, or there's some emotion, or there's some head noise that clouds it and gets in the way. Whereas a reader that doesn't know you, they've got no emotional attachment to any outcome. So they can just purely pick up what they're feeling from you and what they're hearing from your guides, because there's no emotion getting in the way. I won't read for myself if I'm emotionally attached to an outcome. I just won't do it. There's no point, because I'll get in my own way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've noticed, as much as my intention is to read more mediumistically, I can feel I'm still going into people's energy, because it provides a lot of context, quite a lot. So it's really helpful, and I kind of can't help it, really. It's always a part of the experience. So there is a lot of, I suppose, validation and confirmation happening with the messages as well. And just to touch on that intention, preparing for a reading, when you're preparing for a reading, you really need to be in the right headspace, emotional space. And it can be difficult when you do a reading for yourself. So, I would never do a reading for I would never, shouldn't say that. I have done it, but I'm just saying now, I know that it doesn't make sense for me to be doing readings when I'm emotionally very attached to the outcome, or I am going through some sort of intense emotion. Maybe I'm angry or I'm frustrated and I just want answers right now. The readings like that will not be helpful. And which brings me to kind of another point. There, you might still receive an answer, you might still receive some guidance, but there will be a difference between, is this guidance based on your energy because you are pouring your energy onto the cards, which is the difference that I suppose I was kind of trying to explain a little bit earlier on, how the readings might differ. They might differ between what's in your energy, and they work on law of attraction, right? So whatever we're feeling, what's in our energy, will bring into our physical world the situations, people that will, show us this as evidence. Whatever we carry inside shows outside. So if you go for a reading, I feel like potentially, if it's a purely psychic reading, there's a chance that it can bring the guidance that you are already walking towards. I think that's the most that's the type of readings that I think people associate with tarot, especially, or just, psychic readings, where they tell you the future, because they can feel in your energy, this is where you're going. So the cards will tell you, you know, you have a question, will I get this job? Whatever. And the cards are telling you, no, you won't. For instance, in short, there would probably be more than that, but in short, no, you won't. And it can give you the reasons why, and it will be super accurate because that's the state that you're in right now. Whereas if you go and maybe ask, maybe if you read more with the intention of, I'm just looking for guidance about the situation from my spirit guides, my angels, they might bring a different perspective. I feel something that might give you a little bit of an idea of how to maybe differently look at the situation and what you could do to, let's say, get this particular job. Because there might be something in energy that you just need to change because right now you're maybe too stressed out, maybe you're, I don't know, worried too much, for instance. And so the outcome in that sense kind of depends on where you're at. So, but that also depends on the reader themselves, if they know this and how they use their energy. And so, if you read for yourself, what is your intention? You know, I, if I was in a situation, let's say that I can't go to another reader and I really, really need guidance, but it's something is a little bit emotionally, triggering for me, I could try and just let go for those 2 minutes that I pull out the cards and set the intention. I just want my angels, my spirit guides to tell me something, just to give me some guidance. What am I not seeing? What do I need to know about this? Rather than, is it a yes or no? Is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? It's what do I need to know? What's driving my decision behind this? Or, you can get an answer still, but you can't expect that it will be what you want to hear or that it will be super specific necessarily.
Yeah, and I think the skill there is in the readers how they word the question. Because if someone said I want a reading and I want you to tell me, am I going to get a job, yes or no? That's not how the tarot works for me. I mean, you can use it like that, but it's kind of pointless. So, what I would be asking is, what do you need to know about getting this job? Because there's no set outcome, yes or no. If you're feeling like you're not going to get it, law of attraction, you're bringing that on yourself. The external world is a reflection on what's happening internally. So if you really want the job you're going for, let's get some guidance around how to get it. What energy do you need to step into in order to be successful with this job? Is this even the right job for you? Because you might pull out all the stops and get it, and you might hate it in a few months. What do you need to know about this job? Is this job going to satisfy you mentally? Is it going to bring in money? Is it going to bring you joy? If not, is there something better that you need to hang on for? If the job is the right one for you, what do you need to heal from? What's blocking you? What's getting in your way? What do you need to step into to get where you need to go? And I use the tarot for that spiritual guidance, and it's probably coming from spirit guides, or it could be loved ones as well. And it's how you ask the question, and that's not any criticism of people that go for readings. People don't know how tarot or oracle or angel cards or any of them. The cards kind of irrelevant at that point. They don't really know how a reading works or what questions to ask. So that's down to us then to say, I'm going to rephrase that for you because this is going to give you a more helpful answer, and it's going to give you the guidance that you need for your highest good, rather than let's just use it as a fortune telling and see what's going to happen, because that then makes you the victim of your life circumstances. If it just looks like this is going to happen, and then you go, oh, okay, and you just accept it, you don't have to accept anything. If you don't like the outcome, let's look at how you can change that, because you've always got free will and the power to shape your own destiny, so that the cards can help us and can give us guidance. But if you just give into the cards and, the cards say I'm not going to get that job, so I won't even bother trying, well, then you're not going to get it because you've chosen not to try. So they're not meant to take your power away, the cards. They're meant to empower you to make the right choices for you and to get what's what you want out of life.
Yeah, and they can really help find a way to deal with life's difficulties, because I feel it is my belief that some things do are there on our path because they were meant to be. The only difference is how we're going through it and what will we learn during that time. Will we make a victim out of ourselves? Will we be an aggressor towards someone else, for instance? So, with that example, building on the example of getting a job, even if you ask the greatest question in the sense of like, what can I do to get this job? And it might say, well, it's still not a job for you, for
Yeah,
instance, you know.
you're still gonna hate it.
It really, yeah, it's like, why are you even trying to go there? And so, as uncomfortable it might be, it is still the right guidance and question that the cards are guiding you to look at, because perhaps you may then uncover that your intention and your behind looking for that job is something that really isn't that good for you maybe anymore. So yeah, so it's just, you can't ever expect for any reading to bring you, or it's best not to expect for reading to bring you a definitive answer to anything, really. Although it definitely will give you some guidance and direction, and can explain and help you how to move through maybe the difficulties that you have. So I'm saying that because I often did, like, I think the last one maybe did a reading like this for myself was already a year ago. So I've finally healed myself, let's say, from that. But there was a time when I kept asking for clear directions. What am I supposed to do? Because I had maybe many options and I didn't know, and I was very conflicted within me. And I would ask what, and they never told me. It was always, it was always, or like 90% of the time, trust in the unknown. And I was
Oh,
like,
it's so annoying when you
okay,
get that sort of
I
message.
don't know this.
Yeah, I've had that
So
message.
it's not, yeah, so it's not going to give you always the answer that you want. It's the answer that you need, right? And now that I look back on it, like, I know I wasn't in the right place to, at the time, to do this and this, because now I can see, now I know what I'm doing, where I'm
Yeah,
going. It's almost like sometimes that confusion and lack of confidence, you kind of have to work it out for yourself. Cards won't work it out. They will be supportive and helpful and loving, depending again which deck you choose sometimes. But essentially, it's all up to us as to how we take on board that guidance and what we do with it, really.
yeah.
Just because.
Sometimes if you say, if I go in this direction, how will it play out? And you get some of what we call the negative cards, it doesn't mean don't do it, but just it
Hmm.
prepares you that this might be a bit more challenging. But if you really want to do it, our greatest soul growth comes from the painful lesson. So, nothing's ever completely 100% smooth from start to finish. You might look at an option and think, oh God, that looks like it's going to be a bit up and down. But if you really want to do it and you feel like it's part of your life experience here and it's on your path, go for it. But at least there's going to be a dip in the middle where I struggle a bit, but that's just a challenge that will help me to grow and I'll overcome it. Whereas if every single card is no, like negative, 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 you might think, okay, that's just horrible. So
Or,
I'm not
or, or you might think, oh, whatever, I'll still do it. And
challenged.
then,
Exactly. You can do it. You can do it.
yeah.
I mean, I've used the tarot before and I turned a job down because of what came out of the tarot. I didn't have to turn it down. I could have gone for the job knowing that it was going to be quite tough. But at the time, I didn't want that kind of challenge. And
Yeah.
looking back now, everything that's happened that wouldn't have happened if I had took that job, I'd have missed out on so much. So now I'm really glad I didn't take it. But at the time I was like, oh, that's so frustrating because I really want this job. Why is it telling me it's going to be horrible? But it did. And I even got a reading with another reader who pulled the exact same cards that I'd pulled. And then I started hearing other things and it was all coming to me that, yeah, you can do it, but it's going to be very challenging. And is it a challenge that you want right now? And it wasn't the sort of challenge I wanted. So I said no. But that was my decision. The tarot didn't tell me. I made that choice. So I think it's just important that we don't give our power to the cards. The cards are just a tool, really, for us talking to either our intuition or our spirit guides, or both.
Yeah.
And just
Which
really,
is why often, sorry. Yes, which is why often you'll see when you go for a reading, it's like, oh yeah, that's what I thought. People would say, oh, that's a good confirmation.
Yeah.
Because it's always there, right? We're reading your energy, the universe is talking to everyone, whether you consider yourself a psychic reader or not, it really doesn't matter. We are all souls, right? We all have spirit, so the universe constantly talks to us in all different ways. And most of the time you actually know the answer. You just, it's just human to doubt and try things out. So often when you go for a reading, it's just a confirmation of what you already thought to be true.
Yeah, and this is why I'm moving into sort of teaching intuition development, because we've all got this ability. We've just honed it and practiced it. So it's not, we weren't born with this gift. We've it's a skill we've learned, we've created, and we've developed. But it's within every single person to be intuitive and to be psychic. It's a natural part of being human, but we just don't tend to learn it. We don't learn it at school. We don't tend to, if we grow up with it a little bit. Lots of children are very psychic. Lots of children have imaginary friends that might not be imaginary. We're starting to discover perhaps they're actually talking to spirit. And we sort of grow out of it. We get talked out of it. We get taught to use our brain. We get taught all the logical stuff at school, and we lose that innate natural ability. So this is why I'm passionate about getting people to get in touch with what they've already got within them, but just develop it and hone it. And talking of intuitive readings, and we're both sort of heading in this direction now of wanting to teach this, because we've done this for so many years. And this afternoon I'm going to put a mini workshop on my website, a free one, just a mini one, to just introduce people to how it feels to use your intuition with the cards. So that will be on my website this afternoon. That's www.melanie-stevens.com. And then in the future, I'm going to be teaching intuitive reading, probably focusing primarily on tarot initially, maybe tarot and oracle, but it will be starting with intuition. And then further down the line, I might start to teach traditional tarot. It's such a huge area. It took me years. So I think I'm going to start with intuition, develop that first, and then we'll talk about traditional tarot a bit further.
Yeah, sounds great. So yeah, check this out, guys, if you're interested. And just a reminder, I'll be doing the angel card readings course, which is also basically more intuitive and opening to angelic energy. So more of an approaching it from this angle. So if you're interested, check out my website. All the links are in the description of this episode, so you can just click on the link and you shall be there.
Excellent. Oh, it's so exciting.
Okay, so this was our live podcast. We don't have any questions today, so we shall finish. It was definitely one of our longest episodes, look like, because it's
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It's a good subject. So we hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, any suggestions, any topics that you're interested in that you would like us to cover, please feel free to let us know, either in the comments, send us a message on Facebook, or through our website. We'll be happy to cover that for you. Thank you for listening.
Great. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.